Welcome to Reach the World ASAP. My name is Pastor Scott Griswold, and I'm working with ASAP Ministries. Imagine for a moment Jesus' great miracle, the feeding of the 500. Wait a minute. You're probably thinking I got that wrong. It's the feeding of the 5,000, right? Well, I said imagine the feeding of the 500. The people have been listening eagerly to Jesus. They love his teaching. It's fresh and real. It's so helpful and interesting. But they're hungry, and there are no fast food restaurants, no little markets nearby. Just one boy in the whole crowd who planned ahead, or whose mother planned ahead. 5 small barley loaves and 2 dried fish. Some of that little lunch gets up to Jesus. Andrew's a bit doubtful. What's this among so many? Jesus just smiles. He doesn't need a single loaf or a fish. Through him, God made the heavens and the earth. What's a banquet for 5,000 men plus women and children? He tells the disciples to have everybody sit down. Jesus looks over at the little boy who gave up his lunch. He won't go hungry today. And then he lifts up that simple meal towards heaven and gives thanks to God. Imagine with me. The excitement jumps like sparks among those who are nearby. The disciples use their cloaks to carry the first load to the waiting groups. They're sitting by 50s. The first 500 eagerly wolf down the little loaves and chew on the fish as the disciples go back for another load. Excuse me, a man speaks up from the nearest group. You're Thomas, right? Could I have just a couple more loaves? I only got 3 and they're pretty small. Me too, it's his wife. And another fish if you don't mind. They're my favorite and I had to share with our children. Someone from the next group over jumps up and pulls James to the side. We're all a bit hungry still. Could you get your brother to help you bring a couple more loads to this group? Peter was in a bit of a hurry, and he only dumped half of his load here. So seconds are served, and the people are very appreciative. This is the most exciting thing they've ever seen. And they have some important questions to ask. John, have you ever seen Jesus do something like this before? Like when you're traveling on the road and you run out of food? Judas, this is kind of like manna in the wilderness. Do you think Jesus is the Messiah? And is this the messianic banquet we've been waiting for? Matthew, did you write down that prayer that Jesus said? Oh, it was so good. We'd like to study it and see how we might pray more effectively. Thomas, I'm sorry to bother you again, Thomas, but I'd really like to get just a couple more loaves and fish. I'm full now, but this is just too amazing. Mom's barley loaves never tasted quite like this. I'd like to have some for tomorrow because, this just doesn't happen every day. And so the disciples scurry back and forth to this very receptive group of 500. Slowly the sun dips lower in the sky. Then suddenly a clear voice rings out. It's Jesus. Stop. There are hundreds, even thousands who have not yet had a single crumb. There is no limit to my food, but everyone must pass it on if all are going to eat. Who are we in this story? Are we one of the 500, well-fed with plenty in the cupboard, looking forward to what's for lunch almost as soon as breakfast is over? Or are we one of the 500 spiritually stuffed Christian books and magazines piled on our shelves, great Bible apps in our smartphones, attending a wonderful church with well-prepared sermons and special programs planned for the youth? Or are we one of the 12 disciples, busy with the 500 at our local church, leading that youth group, bending over backwards, trying to make a program exciting enough to keep their attention? Are we part of the dedicated team, so devoted to our fellow church members, working hard to keep that one brother's marriage together, to wake up that sleepy Bible class, to help the board stop arguing about the color of the new carpet? Or maybe you're one of the young people, like that little lad, ready to give your all, but a bit confused or frustrated by the clamor of the 500 and the focus of the 12. Whoever we are, Jesus has a specific command for us. Give ye them to eat. He sees beyond the blessed Christians. His eyes take in every hungry man, woman, and child. He feels it in his gut when they go hungry, and spiritually too. He knows every one of his children who daily prays to him, but he also knows those who stare off into the sky, wondering what life is all about and whether there is someone out there who actually cares. I was just learning Cambodian when a young man named Bora walked into my living room in Phnom Penh. He saw on my wall several pictures of Jesus. He didn't know who it was. He asked me, "Who is this?" I was happy to tell him, "Those are drawings of Pre Yesu, Jesus." Yesu? Really? I was sure this God was a lady. Yesu, Grandma Sue. It struck me as funny. Lokie is the word for grandma. He had assumed we worship Grandma Sue. And then it struck me as not funny. Here was a grown man who knew nothing, or worse than nothing, about our wonderful God and Savior Jesus Christ. Why hadn't he been told? Because we were too busy eating loaves and fish. Because we were too busy feeding the 500. I invite you to hear Jesus' voice saying, "Give ye them to eat." Here's 3 ways you can do it today. Number 1, commit to making one solid friendship over the next 6 months with someone who is from a different culture and a different religion than you. You'll find some specific conversations and activities to help make this happen at our website, reachtheworldnextdoor.com. Will you do it? Will you say goodbye to your 500 Christian friends at the fellowship meal after church and spend your Sabbath afternoon making a new friend in part of the town where Russian immigrants congregate? Will you volunteer to teach English for a Chinese international student at the local university? Or maybe take your small group, your Sabbath school, your Pathfinder club, and together go make some friends. Jesus will lead you to someone who's hungry for friendship and for truth. At least one friendship over the next 6 months. What do you think? Number 2, pray for the unreached. Likely you pray every day for certain people, your family, a friend in trouble, people at the church. But who prays for the 7,000 plus unreached people groups in the world? Who prays for the Rajput in India and the Persian in Iran? How about the Hobyot in Yemen and the Thai Tak in Vietnam? Somebody needs to pray for the Uzbeks in Uzbekistan. Will you go to joshuaproject.org and print out a few prayer cards and daily step past those 500 personal concerns to feed through your prayers some of the unreached? Jesus is waiting to hear a prayer in their language for the first time. Number 3, sacrifice something. The typical American spends $144 a year to eat 48 pints of ice cream and throws away $529 of unwanted snacks, leftovers in the fridge, and excess on the plate. Are we the greedy 500 in the front row or what? John the Baptist said it like this: "He who has 2 tunics, let him give to him who has none. And he who has food, let him do likewise." Luke 3:11. 2, share 1. Wow, what a concept. Our brothers and sisters around the world are starving to death, dying because they don't have clean water to drink. We can do something about it. We must do something. So maybe we can put that sacrificial box right there in the middle of our living room. Go without something every single week so we can drop the money that we would have spent on it in the box. Or maybe choose a pocket of our wallet to tuck that money in right after we don't spend it so that we have it there to give it later. Let's turn our ice cream and our snacks into rice for the poor. I am confident we will be so happy that we have. Well, make a friend, pray for the unreached, sacrifice something for the poor. I would love to hear from you to know that you've made this commitment and be able to pray for you and encourage you. You can write to me at scott.griswold@asapministries.org. Let's take up our loaves and fish and walk past the 500 to those waiting beyond. Better yet, grab some of those 500 by the hand, pull them up to join you. Together, let's reach the world ASAP.